I was doing the things. I was a boss lady. But
Yes.
that was me, and I was so excited about it. But on the other hand, behind the scenes, what nobody knew was they weren't changing my title, and I never received a dime more than I made when I managed one person. Okay? And I was doing all the things that everyone told you to do. I was making a business case again. I was showing the financials, showing all of the things that I was doing, that from where I started to where I'd been, how I was building up the company, how I, everything that people say you should do, I was doing. And we had revisited at different checkpoints, and they just kept kicking the can down the road.
Welcome to the She's So Sweet podcast, where we interview accomplished women who have worked their way to the C-suite. I'm your host, Kristi Faltorusso, Chief Customer Officer and award-winning customer success executive. I am so excited. I have to emphasize how excited I am about today's guest. I've got Alexis Scott, who's the founder and CEO of The Fairy Job Mom. And so I got to emphasize why I am so excited, because you ever just follow somebody on social media and feel like you know them and almost too much about them? Because Alexis, I don't know if you know this, I also follow you on TikTok. So I feel like I have the 360 view of everything that is you, my friend. And so I am very excited to have you today. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Kristi. Really excited to be here and chat with you.
It's great. And I've been following your journey, and it is nothing short of super impressive. So we're going to get into things. Before we start talking about all of your career and your past and all of this, I would love if we just lay some foundation. Tell people a little bit more about who you are, what you're doing today, because I know you've got the Fairy Job Mom, but you've got some other stuff you're going to talk to us about as well.
Yeah. So to anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Alexis Scott. I started a company called The Fairy Job Mom 2 years ago. It has evolved into where I have a segment where I'm helping job seekers market themselves into their next best opportunity. And I also now do LinkedIn ghostwriting for founders and executives. Outside of work, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom. In fact, my dogs, I'm praying they're not going to bark. They're here playing.
They're fine.
And I currently live in Boise, Idaho. I'm a California native, transplant to Idaho. Pre-COVID, mind you, I was not one of the COVID migration, but just, living life. I have 2 teenagers, which they keep me on my toes more than anything, quite frankly.
So I have to say that's actually how I got on TikTok. Was I have a 16-year-old and I wanted to feel relevant and I wanted to know what she was watching. Needless to say, our algorithms are very, very different. So I don't know exactly what she's dialed into, but then I got hooked. So, and then I found you. So I love that I've actually found a lot of my LinkedIn friends on TikTok, and it's interesting because I only use it as a professional platform, but I love seeing the other side of folks and really get to know people. So I think it's been a lot of fun following everyone's journey.
Yeah. So, really quick, TikTok for me, I made a very conscious decision when I started making TikToks. So originally I thought, okay, I'm going to expand the Fairy Job Mom. It's going to be another channel. I'm going to talk about job seeking and see the dogs are barking. Sorry about that. And I felt really tired. It wasn't lighting my fire. I talked about it a lot on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my bread and butter. It's where I have the most followers, but it was making it to the point to where I didn't want to create content. It wasn't inspiring me. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be like these people that just hop on the phone in their car and just talk. And I'm going to talk about my life. And the first video that I made was actually that went viral was not about me. It was about a friend of mine. And I had gotten really upset because she was going through a divorce, middle-aged life. Hello, welcome. And she really kind of got screwed by her now ex-husband. And I was pissed. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to say what I think. And it's still going. To this day, it's been, I think, over a year. No, not a year. 8-9 months. I'm still getting so-and-so liked your post. So-and-so's following you. So I'm like, dang, okay, this is the post that never ends. But it was at that point that I thought, you know what? I'm just going to be me. And I'm going to talk about my life. And I'm just going to literally use it as a creative outlet. And it has become a place for me to talk about all the things that no one talks about. All the things that we think, but that we don't want to say out loud because they're not PC, right? We have all of these idealistic views on what life should be, particularly women who hit 40. Once we hit 40, all of the idealistic BS goes out the window and we start asking the hard questions. So So I just asked them publicly.
Well, I love that. And it has been a lot of fun watching and riding alongside. Like I said, I have this duality of you where I get the LinkedIn version and then I get the not so LinkedIn version, which I probably listen, all the content you create is great. But I think as a 43-year-old woman, I kind of definitely am gravitating towards that. When TikTok went away for like a second, I was panicked. I was like, who's going to teach me how to get dressed? Who's going to teach me how to do my makeup? Who's going to teach me how to do my hair? How am I going to find my music? Like everything that I do, my entire existence is powered by like the 20-year-olds on TikTok.
I love it. I mean, I've learned so much, truly. And it's funny that you say that. So the way that I found TikTok was being banned, this is actually really funny. There is a woman who I follow who teaches makeup tips for women over 40. And I had made another viral video that people kept tagging her in, asking for help with my makeup. And she was nice enough to reply. And we ended up corresponding via DM a couple times and what have you. But I like feel like she's my friend now because out of the 2 million people that follow her, she's doing me with a message. And so I went to message her and be like, if you want to find me after TikTok, like, here's how you can find me. And it was shut off. I couldn't message. And then I thought about it and I'm like, does she even know who, like, am I delusional here? So we're back on now, baby.
I know. It was a tough 14 hours or so. I tried to do like Instagram reels for a second and I was like, this algorithm doesn't even know me. No. It doesn't even know what I like.
It is not the same at all.
All right. So that was a wild tangent. We won't spend the entire episode today talking about TikTok, although we probably could. Okay. So my favorite question to ask everybody is when you were little, right? So let's rewind a little bit. I'm sure you didn't think this is where you would be in your career. So what did you think you were going to be, or what did you want to be when you were a little girl?
Yes. So let me preface this with 2 years ago, I would have never told you this is my job. So
True.
Let's start there. But as young as I can remember, the first thing I ever wanted to be was a ballerina. And then I wanted to be a teacher. Like I loved playing school and I always needed to be the teacher. I was not the pupil. I was the teacher.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, not at all. And then I went to Catholic school. I think for like 5 seconds, I thought about being a nun. Shocker.
Whoa.
That did not last long, FYI.
Okay.
Then, I mean, I have a long list. A lawyer, television newscaster. That was one.
Okay. I can actually see that for you.
A lot of people could see that for me, quite frankly.
Because you have the look and the presence and the way you speak. I could definitely see that. Let's not rule that one out. Let's keep that one on the list just in case.
No.
I like that one.
Funny. I recently had a TV appearance. A friend of mine who was a TV newscaster now has a TV show. She asked me to be on her TV show, and she's like, "You need to be on camera." So we're working through that. We're trying to figure out what that's going to look like.
Okay.
My kids, side note, on the television newscaster topic, told me that that's why. What did they say? It was really funny about how I speak on TikTok. That I sound like I'm too formal. I sound like I speak too much like a newscaster and not enough like a normal person. And I'm like, well, that's just how I talk. So that's a whole other thing. But long story short, I ended up in sales. And like most people in sales, I did not set out to be a salesperson at all. And, once you get into it, it's very hard to get out. And now, even though that's not technically my job, it is my job because I own my own business and I have to sell to my clients.
So let's talk about this journey though. Okay. So obviously from ballerina to sales to business owner to CEO, right? Like it's a long journey, right? So like connect the dots here for me, right? So obviously at some point you're finishing up school. We ruled out the nun thing. Bring me to like post high school. We're thinking about colleges. What did we major in? Kind of walk me through that stage of life.
So I grew up in California, grew up in San Francisco. I really wanted to go to a school called Cal Poly, which is highly impacted. Mm-hmm. It's a state school, but very, very hard to get into. And I was going to be a business major, actually. But people said, it's too hard. You can't get in as a business major, so go in ag business. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I went in ag business, agricultural business, for those who don't know what that is. And I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. I'm like, this is fascinating. Like, we all eat food. We all need, vegetables to survive. I love economics. And long story short, that was fine until I got to soil science. And that's where things went a little bit haywire. I ended up, like life, all these twists and turns, but I ended up graduating from San Francisco State University with a degree in sociology. because I just wanted my degree. And I thought, you know what? I'm very interested in people. It was either psychology or sociology. I went with sociology because I love to understand how people interact with each other. It's fascinating to me. And I thought, oh, I'll just get my degree. Well, while I was there, I started working at a golf course, and I was the beverage cart girl. And their food and beverage director was like, hey, you're really smart. Would you like to learn catering sales? And I'm like, yeah, sure. That sounds good. I'll make more money. It's like a real big girl job.
Yeah.
So I ended up graduating and getting a job as the catering sales director of this like brand new renovated PGA golf course. So I was like, okay, thinking I was all this and that. Now, what he then told me was, you can make more money in hotels. And I was like, I like money. Let's go try to get a hotel job. So I did. I ended up taking a job at the Marriott Fisherman's Wharf on their sales team, which led me to a 10 plus year career in hospitality sales. But I always wanted to get into tech sales. That was like my dream. Now, the irony is not lost.
Because you're still in San Francisco at this point, right? And so you've got the tech scene out there in Silicon Valley is booming. So it's kind of like in your backyard, you're watching this all unfold.
Exactly. And I could not break in. Let me just tell you, like, could not. Now, in hindsight, I understand why, and I can get to that. But I ended up leaving. So we had moved to Silicon Valley. And again, in my backyard, what is going on? We decided to move to Idaho. I knew at that point my hospitality career was done. There were not many hotels here that are full service. The pay was abysmal. And I'm like, all right, it's time to make a change. This is it. We're moving, new career. Ended up taking a remote job, my very first ever remote job on a marketing team. And I was making peanuts. Like, my daughter makes that at Target. Okay. Like, but I thought, it's remote.
Got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere, and I have insurance, and so here we go. So I lasted in that job about 6 months before a better opportunity came. And the better opportunity is actually kind of that significant role in my career that propelled me forward, in my opinion. I ended up taking a job with a company called Vacasa, and they hired me to build out their tour and travel partnership program. So they liked that I had customer service experience, that I had hotel experience. And, you know, I kind of fit this weird mold that they were looking for. So they brought me on. At the time, I was managing one person, Cindy. I love Cindy. We're still friends. And I noticed very quickly there was a big problem with their business model. They did not have a reservation sales team. They just had customer service. And so my clients that I had built partnerships with were calling in, and these customer service agents all over the country were like, who are you? What do you mean you have a deal? What do you mean you get a discount? I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, this is not okay. This is not serving the purpose of what we're here for. And I put together a business plan and said, you know, here's what needs to happen. Here's the purpose. Here's who I think needs to be involved. And here's what I want to build. And they said, great, let's do it. So one afternoon, I get a text from my boss, and he says, you're building a team. I want you to hire 10 people. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And he's like, 10 people. And this was the catch. He goes, here's what the team is going to do. They were going to go outbound. So this was not a reservation sales team like, oh, no, you're going to answer the calls. This was, you're going to go get repeat business, and you're going to make us more money. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay, well, that's not what I wrote in the business plan. But okay, let's do it. Well, lo and behold, my team was very successful. So I inherited reservation sales, more people in the company. And then they acquired Wyndham Vacation Rentals, which I know we've all heard the name Wyndham. Massive company.
Yep.
And overnight, I then had 70 team members, 7 managers, and I had to figure out how to train, onboard, get everybody on board everything within months. So I was flying to different destinations, trying to figure out how to organize these people, get them all up to speed. And then COVID hit and derailed the entire thing. And it was a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, I was devastated. I thought that was my chance. Like, I was climbing the ladder. I was doing the things. I was a boss lady, you know, all the stereotypical bullshit that, you know, you hear. But that was me. And I was so excited about it. But on the other hand, behind the scenes, what nobody knew was they weren't changing my title. And I never received a dime more than I made when I managed one person. Okay. And I was doing all the things
Wow.
that everyone told you to do. I was making a business case again. I was showing the financials,
Yeah.
showing all of the things that I was doing, that from where I started to where I'd been, how I was building up the company, how I, everything that people say you should do, I was
Right.
doing. And we had revisited at different checkpoints, and they just kept kicking the can down the road. And
Wow.
I had had enough of it. Interestingly, the day COVID started, I had booked a meeting with the new CEO that had come on board. And at the all hands, he said, if anyone needs to talk to me about anything, please book some time. And I said, you know what? I'm going to book some time, sir. I know you don't know who I am, but you're about to. And you're about to know exactly how this has gone down. And I laid it all out for him. And he goes, let me look into this. And we set up time. It was beginning of March 2020. And I remember that day, I had gotten all dressed up. We were working from home. COVID had just started. And he emailed me and he said, Alexis, I'm so sorry. I know this meeting is very important to you. But as you can imagine, we're dealing with COVID. And I said, I completely understand, which I did. My team had turned from a reservation sales team into a cancellation sales team. Okay. And so I got it. We were all working 12, 15, 16, all day and night, just trying to deal with all of these travel cancellations. And so I totally understood. And 2 days later, I didn't have a job anymore. Never met with him. So I got set free. And
I love that positioning. And I think that's important for anybody who's listening to hear that language, because we often see these things as negative and you pivoted that into a positive. And I think it's the mindset around that is really important.
Well, it completely set me free because I was so torn between loving my team and truly loving and enjoying what I was building and the work that I was doing. And in return, I was sacrificing myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it at the time. I was just like, we just got to do it. We got to do the things, whatever. They'll recognize me. They'll give me it eventually. Right. FYI, anyone who gets a fake promotion, think very carefully. But anyway, so I ended up becoming unemployed in COVID along with the rest of the world. And that's really when I started my LinkedIn journey. I just knew LinkedIn was going to help me get hired. I knew it. And I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like, but I started posting and I started telling my story. And I would talk about conversations with the unemployment department, conversations with people, interviews that I was having, just all of the experiences of COVID I was sharing, and it was really resonating. And I started getting DMs and I started getting invited on podcasts like this. And just kind of opportunities were arising. I ended up connecting with a founder of a company. And I remember he had messaged me. This was about 3 or 4 months into my unemployment. And he said, hey, Alexis, I know you don't know me, but the founder of your previous company actually invested in my previous company, like blah, blah, blah. How are you? And I said, I'm not good. I don't have a job.
You're like, have you been reading my LinkedIn posts? No?
I don't know if it was from, it must have been. I mean, he was clearly following me, right? He had found me. And so I said, I'm not good. And so he told me about this new business that he was running and building. And I said, you know what? That's really cool. I said, you found a way to actually help people and make money. That's like a dream, right? And so the conversation dropped off and I ended up actually meeting his co-founders through different avenues. So I had connected with all of them differently. When I saw that they were hiring, I thought, okay, yes, I'm throwing my name in the hat. And there were 2 roles available: marketing and customer, or what they call it, candidate success or something like that. And I thought, well, I'm not a marketer. We have already learned that from my previous role that I hated. So we're going all in on candidates. So I messaged them and I said, hey, just want to let you know I've applied, would love to have a conversation.
Yep.
And they immediately wrote back and they said, amazing. We would love to talk to you, but just curious, why candidate experience? You're a sales girl. What is going on? And I said, listen, I just want to work with you. I love what you're doing. I love that you're helping people. So however I can jump in, and I'm passionate about helping people get hired. So yes, we love that. And so they said, okay, give us a minute to marinate on this, but we're excited. We want to talk to you. So turns out they ended up hiring me for a role that they were not planning to hire for months and months and months, but they really wanted to work with me.
Yeah.
So they hired me to build out their partnerships program, kind of like the last company. And I did. I mean, it exploded. I built out a program with 150 plus sales leaders, founders of startups. And the entire premise of this company was training people in software sales and helping them get hired. Again, I got to feel like I had a mission. It was super mission driven work. I would tell myself, if I do not secure deals with these companies, people will not get hired. And therefore, I have to do a good job. I have to create the opportunities for these people to have them. So that is what drove me. But, the market was hot, and I started getting a little bit antsy of like, okay, this is great. I've been doing this for about a year and a half. Like, what's next? And I knew the co-founder / my boss at the time, she was a very talented sales leader. And I knew I wasn't necessarily going to be a sales leader ever at that company, because why would they have me? Like, she was there. And so it became this ceiling that I knew existed, but I loved the work I was doing. I loved the people that I was working with. And so it was like, what do I do? And I left. I took a chance on me. So that was exciting. I was unemployed / side hustling for about 6 months. And I thought, I'm tired of sales. Sales is hard. I don't know if I want to do that. And I ended up taking what I thought was another big catalyst moment in my career. I took a job in tech marketing. Now, you might be wondering, Alexis, you said before that marketing was not for you. And I would challenge you with, in my own brain, it was different, because the role was a little bit different. It was about community. It was about evangelism. It was about building their presence on social, getting the word out, doing all of the things that I do best, right?
Right.
And they were going to pay me more than I had ever made in my entire life. And I just thought, holy crap, this was all worth it. I'm finally hitting that magical number that I wanted to hit.
Yep.
And then I got in there, and I can tell you, about a week in, I knew I had been hoodwinked. Like, I just knew this was not the role, the company. And the crazy part was that many of the people who had been hired around the time that I was hired, we all had been hoodwinked. We all, like, I would meet these people and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, pause. Tell me what they told you. And we're like talking about it behind the scenes. And I'm like, this person is amazing. They're so talented.
Right.
They like have great background. I love working with them. But the company had just gotten funding. And so they had offered us all beautiful, lovely, cushy salaries to get top talent. And then we stepped into a gigantic pile of crap with leaders that do not align with my, like, we'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
So I was absolutely miserable. I hired a life coach, and I was like, I got to figure this out. Like, I don't know what I want. I'm miserable. My husband used to say, he goes, I'm kind of convinced that your job is talking shit about your job. Because he would hear me on calls.
And
like,
that is the moment in which you have to leave, because now you've crossed the boundaries of the negative from your professional life bleeding into your personal. And I always tell people, I'm like, the minute you feel anything that's happening here, if this is icky, if it starts to infiltrate the other part of your life, your safe place, your family, your hobbies, you have to walk away.
Well, it got to the point to where he was telling me to quit. He's like, you can't do this anymore. He's like, this is enough. So, but I wouldn't, the golden handcuffs of that salary. I'm like, I can't. So
the She's So Sweet podcast is brought to you by Client Success. Client Success is an all-in-one customer success platform to help post-sale implementation and success teams manage customers from new to renew. Through an industry-leading platform approach, Client Success gives businesses an in-depth view into customer health, product usage trends, along with churn and risk data, so that your team can not only retain customers, but help them grow as well. Whether it's managing customer onboarding workflows in shared portals, building custom health scores, tracking sentiment with NPS surveys, or doing more with less through AI and automations, Client Success gives customer success professionals a true one-stop platform to manage all aspects of the customer journey. To learn more about the industry's fastest to implement customer success platform, visit www.clientsuccess.com. That's Client Success. Simple, powerful customer success.
I ended up working with that coach, and like many people, she said to me, Alexis, I don't understand why you don't have your own business. And I'm like, no, like, I love working with a team. Like, I don't know what I would sell. And she's like, I'm telling you, you need to be running your own business. She goes, and this is a moment I will never forget. You always say Oprah and her aha moments, right? Like, this was my aha moment. She said, you are the opposite of most of my clients. Most of my clients have the idea, but they don't have the audience. You have the audience. All you need is the idea. And that was very pivotal for me because I'm like, oh my God, she's right. Like, she's absolutely right. What am I doing? So I put together my business plan. I decided to start the Fairy Job Mom. It was surrounding, people were coming to me all the time for help with job search and what have you. And I thought, well, I had to get over the whole monetization thing because I am a natural helper. I want to help people, especially when it comes to getting hired. So I had to, gain ownership of the fact that my time is valuable and it's worth money. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
And I ended up starting the Fairy Job Mom at the beginning of 2023. I was fired a week later by leadership. And
did it have anything to do with you starting this, or was it just separate?
100%. I'm about to tell you what went down. So my old boss.
Oh yeah, I want to hear all of it.
So she and I are still friends to this day. I adore her. And I messaged her and I said, hey, I'm doing this and that. She said, did you tell your boss? And I said, no. And I'm not going to tell him. And she goes, Alexis, I know you don't like it there, but you got to be smart. She goes, just send him a message and just say, hey, there's a passion project that I'm working on. You're probably going to see some stuff online. If anyone mentions it to you, I wanted to come to you first so that you knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I said, it does not interfere. It does not compete. Like, it is completely different than my day job. But it is something I'm really excited about. And so I just wanted to share that with you. So I sent him that via Slack, something along those lines. And he wrote back and he said, I support, and I have the screenshots. By the way, I'm not making this up. And he goes, I support passion projects, period. Are you getting paid? ? And that's all he said. And I wrote back and I said, yes, I am. And then crickets. And then the next morning I wake up and he says, you are in violation of your employment agreement, blah, 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 blah. And I sent him the employment agreement and I said, I'm actually not. Here is the employment agreement. Can you please show me what I'm in violation of? And I didn't hear anything back from him ever again. And I got an invite from HR that Friday. Now, it gets better. I'm about to give you all the tea. The tea.
Okay. Honestly, I wish I had my cup up here because I would just be holding it right now. I'm like hanging on to your every word right now because I'm like, this is like a Netflix doc. All right, what happens next?
So HR, hop into the meeting with HR, of course. I know what's about to happen. Of course I do, right? So I've like screenshotted, saved, like I've got all my documentation. And so she starts it going and she's like, you have been conducting business during business hours and this, that, and the other. And I said, what are you talking about? And she's like, you have a time availability from 12 to 1 or whatever. And that's during business hours. And I said, do I not get a lunch break? That was the question. She would not answer the question. She goes, we can talk about that later. And I said, we can't talk about it later. You're firing me right now. When would you like to talk about that? Do I not get a lunch break? And she's like, I'm not answering that question. Okay. So lo and behold, again, set free. So this is what I tell you. Anytime anyone loses anything in life, you are being set free for greater things. I promise.
Redirected.
Sometimes we're so afraid to take that leap, cut the cord, move along. So the universe does it for us. And that's just how I see it. So that set me free to start the Fairy Job Mom. And it went from being an hourly side hustle to like, holy crap, I got to turn this into a real business. And so I learned a whole lot about actual marketing, a whole lot about sales that I didn't even know, a whole lot about email and webinars and podcasts, and, like the whole nine, like the sky is the limit when you're running your own business. One thing that has not changed, I still don't like not having a team. I still really miss the collaboration and the team energy and all of that. But people started asking me as I built my LinkedIn presence, they started asking me to ghostwrite for them. And at first I was really hesitant. And then I took on my first client. She's incredible. She's still my client 2 years later. And I've added a roster of more. And so, the Fairy Job Mom is lovely in the sense of it is my passion project. It's what makes me really happy to know that just I could play a small part in someone's career journey. But I was telling you this, Kristi, before we officially recorded, if I'm doing my job as the Fairy Job Mom, you will never have to hire me again. Like if I've done the right thing and you have learned and you've gotten hired, you're going to know how to fix your resume. You're going to know what your LinkedIn should say. You're going to know how to go search for a job, right? And so it's constant client acquisition. Like I don't have that repeatable business model, and that's really, really hard. So FYI, for anyone considering starting a business in the future, consulting, whatever, like unless you have MRR, monthly recurring revenue, you will constantly be searching for clients.
Yep.
And so what I noticed was for ghostwriting, it was at a higher price point and it was monthly recurring revenue. I make my clients, I shouldn't say make, but I require my clients to sign on for at least 6 months because it takes time to build your presence and what have you. And so, that has been sustainable for me financially. It's something I'm really good at. It's something I'm passionate about. I'm obviously on LinkedIn all the time. And so I have built this kind of dual business model where I get to help people and I get to do the work that sets my soul on fire. And then in a kind of tangential way, I get to help other people market themselves in different ways through content. Never thought I would be a writer. Like if you would have asked me ever, what do you want to be when you grow up? Writer was not the answer.
I was like, I'm going through this. I'm like ballerina, teacher, lawyer, newscaster, hairdresser, therapist. None of those said writer. None of those.
No. And it is my bread and butter. And it is what has opened the door to countless opportunities at this point. Like I partner with brands. Like it's incredible. My life has completely changed in the very best way. And so, that continuation of evolution and change and reinventing myself, people ask me, oh, what's your differentiator? And I'm like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, look at what I have done for my own life, my own career. Like, I know how to do this by now. I can help.
That's so fantastic. Okay. So like, let's shift gears a little bit because obviously you're doing all of this, but you're also a selfless giver. I see how you engage. I watch you kind of help and guide people. And it seems like that's just kind of in your DNA. And one of the things that we talked about when I told you why I started this podcast is this whole mission-driven purpose around empowering women and painting a stage, helping people understand like what's possible for them in their future. And I love your story because it's also unlike anybody else's story that I've had on the show so far, which is what I aspire to capture is unique stories for everybody. But my favorite thing to say is that empowered women empower women. And so I'd love to learn more about how you feel like you're kind of living that mission and kind of that saying in your day to day.
Well, I think a couple, like, that saying, a girl's girl?
Yeah.
I've always been a girl's girl. Okay. I've always had female friends. And I know there are women who have not had that experience. And to them, I say, I'm sorry because female energy is like so incredible. Just having real friendships and people that you can count on is so important to me in my life. Mm-hmm. So number one, I show up as a friend. So I have women that they are entrepreneurs. They are businesswomen and we talk business. So like, that's the first thing, I have even my cousin who is we're 3 months apart, she started her own business and I was on the call yesterday with her and she's like, I think I'm going to go get a job and this and that, but I also am interested in this. And I said, pause, let's go through this. Like, let's talk through it. And I basically coached her. Right. And I think that just having the conversations around things that are important for career is really important because it's one thing to go get brunch and talk about husbands and babies and shopping and whatever, but it's another to say, okay, we have goals. How are we going to get there together? And so, the whole rising tide thing is really, really important to me. When it comes to strangers, right? This was something that I had to get over when I started the fairy job. I felt guilty. I felt guilty for charging for my time. And
yes.
Once I rationalized that my time is valuable and it is what it is, I also recognize that I can still help people for free. Right? So like if someone comes to me and their situation is extraordinary and I really feel drawn to just helping, I can do that. And I do that. And oftentimes, I will give quote unquote free advice to people in passing because sometimes you don't need an hour of my time for me to say like, hey, just think about this. Ask yourself this question. And then that's that spark. And they're like, ooh, you're right. And then they can run with it. Right? So like there's varying levels of coaching and help and this and that. And anytime I can take 3 seconds of my day and answer a question or give a tip or give my perspective, I will. I absolutely will. What goes around comes around. And so many people have helped me in my life that have been mentors or friends or, whatever it may be. Like, of course I want to give back. It's just like a very natural thing.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, like I said, I'm only seeing it several states away and on LinkedIn and social media, right? But I watch the way that you interact with such authenticity and a real desire to help people, whether it's questions or they're engaging with your content in different ways. And so I love watching that from afar. Now let's talk about this for a little bit, because obviously we talked about this. You are a mom, you are a dog mom, you are a wife, you are a whole person on your own.
Yes.
You're also, you're ghostwriting. So you're kind of like being the persona of all these other people. You're doing your own brand. You've got the fairy job mom. Like, you have all this stuff going on. How do you find balance in your life? What is how do you make all these puzzle pieces work together so that you don't feel like you're overextending, that you're not burning yourself out?
It's interesting that you asked me that, because, come January 1st, technically January 6th,
everything started on the 6th this year, just so we're all clear.
Yeah. And so that really, things kind of went haywire. I did not feel in balance. I was working like crazy, getting proposals out, having consultations, writing for my existing clients. Like, I was going absolutely insane. And for me, process is what helps me. And it is one of my biggest Achilles heels and challenges in my life. I am a visionary. I am a big picture thinker. I love ideas and concepts. And then I love delegating. And it's a whole lot different when you have no one to delegate to and you are it. And so I really had to sit down and think, like, how can I make this to where I'm not stressed thinking about what I need to do? It's already set up for me. I already know what's coming. I can plan for it. I can time block. I can, do all of these things to give myself a sense of peace of I guess in a way being a control freak, right? I want to know what's coming. It's when I don't know what's coming that I really get stressed out. But if I can plan for it, then I'm all right. Yeah, I'll be busy. Yeah, it might take a lot of time, but it's okay. I already know. Mentally, I'm there.
Now, when you're doing this solopreneur work, right, and you don't have a team, you don't have anybody to delegate to, who is your circle, right? Well, everyone always says it's lonely at the top. And I have to say, yes, most days I am terribly lonely and I'm remote. I feel like I'm on an island some days. But I've developed a circle, like my tribe of people who I go to, who feel as if they are extensions of me and can be there and show up whatever way I need. No questions asked. I've designed that for myself. How are you doing this?
So similar. I have, different groups or different people fulfilling different things. So I have a group that I call it my creator group. And we talk a lot about brand deals. Like, if I need help with negotiating with a brand or what to say, or talking about LinkedIn and the stupid algorithm that drives you crazy, I go to them and they help. They're amazing. I have a former client who he's my rah-rah guy. And if I just need a virtual hug and pick me up, I call him, because I know he's like my hype man unofficially. I love him to death. He's amazing. If I have one partner in crime who she asked me to be on her TV show, and now we're really good friends. And I love, just having her in my corner. We talk business, we talk personal, we talk all those fun things. I have my people from before. I have a tribe, which is really interesting. I will tell you, as you evolve, your tribe will evolve. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I was having a conversation with someone just the other day, and I said, I feel a certain way about a mutual connection. And she's like, I have a question for you. Do you actually care? Or is it just that you feel rejected? And I said, I just feel rejected. I think this person and I probably feel the same way about each other at this point, but it's not even I'm like, damn, okay, tell me how you really feel,
Right.
And the whole Mel Robbins let them theory is what I have been playing in my mind for the last week, of just, people are going to show you, they don't need to tell you. The people that are there for you will be there for you. You don't need to make people be there for you. You don't need to make people be your friend, make people want to support you. Let them. Just let them do their thing. You do your thing. Support the people you want to support. Cheer for the people you want to cheer for. Help the people you want to help. And the whole universe will work it out.
It's really powerful. You're actually not the first guest to reference Mel Robbins and the let them theory. In fact, I just had somebody recently who we recorded with who went on and on about that too. And listen, I love Mel. I follow her on all social channels. Yep. I can't get enough of it, but I very much subscribe to the same thing. But it's a hard mindset shift when you're somebody who like, I don't know how you are. I was a people pleaser. I mean, I'm probably still a people pleaser. And I'm a words of affirmation is my love language, right? So I'm a people pleaser who also needs people to recognize and validate me.
Yep.
That is a really hard combination for the let them, right? Because I have to basically forego all of the things that have been powering me and like understand how my brain works and why do I need that? And why do I need them to validate me? And like, what is it about? Who cares if they like me or not? It is a really tough shift to make. So I have to ask you, is this something that was easy for you? Were you already subscribed to this subconsciously where you're just kind of like, no, I just let things kind of roll off and it is what it is? Or were you somebody who had to really make a pivot here and adjust to that philosophy?
So it's interesting. I just looked at my Clifton Strengths results, right? And my number 1 is communication and my number 2 is woo. Okay. And then you look at the rest and like influence is the number 1 theme for my Clifton results ranked, right? So for me, it is very important to feel liked. It is very important for me to feel like I have influence over the people around me, that I'm charismatic and magnetic and interesting and all of these things, right? Hello, look at my LinkedIn, right? And so I think the hardest thing for me is what I mentioned, and I've actually been doing work around this, is rejection is really what the issue is for me. When I feel like someone is rejecting me, I have a hard time with it. And the other thing is communication, right? So like, I want to know why. And sometimes I don't need to know why you don't like me, right?
Right.
I'm just like, all you got to say is, I don't want to be your friend because of X, right? But who am I to care? Why do I care? And so I think the older I've gotten, the more work I've been doing around this of like, again, the let them, the just like, let it go. I have enough things in my life to actually give worry to and actually give care to. I don't need to worry why someone on the internet messaged me saying something rude. Like, let it go. So I also think I'm a weird dichotomy of super confident and also unsure of myself, right? So like in many ways, I am very confident. I can walk into a room like, I was just talking about this on another call today where I was in hotel sales. Like I shine in a room full of people. Like get me off the phone and get me in front of you, shaking your hand, connecting with you. Like we will be friends by the time we leave that room. Right. And so when you have that type of personality, you have to be confident. You cannot walk into a room where you don't know anyone and, think that it's going to be okay if you are shy or if you're not, you're insecure or whatever. So like, I know I have that, but at the same time, I have a need for perfection. And that is where I think I am challenged and what I'm really trying to work through of like, nobody is perfect. I will never be perfect. You will never be perfect. And so just be your best self and know, again, it all goes back to people who want to be your cheerleaders, people who want to be part of your life, who want to be part of your tribe, they will be. And so that's really where I'm focused on, is just being myself. And the people who want to be around me and think I'm wonderful, awesome. I'm grateful and I love you. And the people who don't, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Go find your people. It's not me.
Yeah. Well, your authenticity shines. It's one of the things that I love most about you. Okay. Well, I feel like I just got to sit here and we were just having a conversation. I got all the tea on everything that's transpired that led to here. So like this may be one of my favorite recordings of all time. I got to talk the least amount. I'm sure if I look at my audio file, it's like nothing compared to this. So I'm here for that. Okay. But I always like to end my episodes with a little advice that I like to offer to our listeners. So before we wrap up today, what's the one thing you want them to take away?
It is never too late to reinvent yourself. Your future is on the other side of one decision that you make. And so if you have been feeling stuck, if you have been feeling unhappy, if you know that there is something greater for you in this life, it's one decision away.
Wow, I feel like I kind of needed to hear that. So if nobody else valued that piece of advice, I definitely did, Alexis. So thank you so much. Listen, I loved having you as a guest on today's show. Thank you so much. Your story is really impressive. I mean, there's so many facets of it that I think are so inspirational for so many people. And I think that if nothing else, you've empowered people to take some risks and take chances and bet on themselves. like you did. And obviously that's paid out for you. So congratulations on your success. I'm here to continue to cheer for you and support you. And you'll let me do that because that's how that works. So you're going to let me be your cheerleader. But I just want to wish you continued success in all that you do. And I know that you don't need that. You're going to continue to lead out in big ways, but it's just been so inspiring watching you and your journey.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. This was great. Hopefully people, find it interesting, and I did talk a lot. So if I'm not excited.
No, this was perfect. This was perfect. Alexis, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you?
Come find me on LinkedIn. My name on there is Alexis Rivera Scott. You can also search The Fairy Job Mom. If you're interested in help marketing yourself, either in your career or in business, go to thefairyjobmom.com and you can see how I can help.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for your time today. I loved hearing your story. For everyone who listened in today, if you enjoyed this episode, please go follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, connect with me on LinkedIn. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Hi, guys. I want to share a bit about an organization that I support called Wednesday Women. They're on a mission to increase the visibility of executive women leaders that you should know, learn from, and be inspired by. On LinkedIn, they share the profile of 2 amazing women each week, on Wednesdays, of course. And now just imagine if we all followed, amplified, and nominated the women that we want to see more of. Their initiative provides examples of women CEOs, founders, sales executives, technical leaders, and so many more. By supporting Wednesday Women, you'll see more of these professionals in your social feeds, of course, but also on stages, podcasts, and panels. If you're interested in learning more and supporting their initiative, head over to www.wednesdaywomen.org or follow them on LinkedIn.